Welcome to NET Vaper Reviews. Today's review is a mouth-to-long RTA by the SmokerStore, the famous designers of the Taifun. Yeah, and this is the Taifun GT One mouth-to-long RTA. Unmistakably looks like a Taifun. The quality is Taifun. The price is not Taifun, it's a bit lower. They categorize it as more of a basic mouth-to-long RTA. In fact, this is the cheapest mouth-to-long RTA by the Taifun range. So when I don't own a Taifun, so when I heard they came up with this rather quote basic mouth-to-long RTA, I was quite intrigued. What is a basic mouth-to-long RTA by Taifun? The price of this mouth-to-long RTA also reflects the lower, should I say, the more basic model of a mouth-to-long RTA. Is it really basic? And what does it mean for high-end basic? First of all, as you can see in the background, it is quite dark. Well, in fact, it is now 10 to 10 at night. I've done the close-up on this mouth-to-long 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to finish this review, and I didn't have the time. Today I said I'm going to have to do it hook by crook. I can upload it for the weekend because I'm so busy next week, so I didn't want to delay it any longer. So there you go. So I'm quite excited to review this tank for two reasons. First, it's a Taifun. End of the day, it's a Taifun. Or Taifun, it depends how you spell it. They're all high end, and this is no exception. This is a Taifun through and through, but it's a bit of a different design. But in fact, I do like this design. This is a old school type of mouth-to-long RTA, no juice flow, no adjustable external airflow. It all goes by inserts and a fixed hole here, as you can see, and next to it there is a tiny hole with an ever so tiny screw that they provide you, that you can block this off. We'll talk about the effects of blocking and unblocking that hole with that screw. The whole design is interesting, and I'm quite enjoying this mouth-to-long RTA for its merit. And we're going to talk also about the price that is quite reasonable for a Taifun. Yeah, this is the cheapest one of their range. This is €100. Well, to be precise, 100 minus 1, 99 euros. Still very expensive. I mean, you can buy two bishops for this price. Yeah, or two, the replay that I reviewed not long ago. So it's relatively cheap for Taifun, but still quite expensive for mouth-to-long RTA. Is it worth the price? What do I think of it? What is the flavor like? The build quality? How is it to wick and coil? All these questions we're going to go through in this review. Hopefully it wouldn't take too long. But as you know, when it comes to mouth-to-long RTAs, especially high-end and those that I enjoy, I do take my time. I think it's better to have more information than less. You could always pause, watch it over a few days, but if you don't have enough information, you don't get the full picture of this mouth-to-long RTA, so you can't decide, do you want to purchase it or not? So I hope it wouldn't take too long. So what I'm going to do is now is, let's go to the close-up that I've done 2 weeks ago, and then we'll come back on top and we'll go through what I think of the Taifun GT One mouth-to-long RTA. So see you on top as soon as the close-up is done. So let's have a close look at the Taifun GT One mouth-to-long RTA. And it comes in this sort of tube. So here it says SmokerStore, and on the other side it says Taifun. Now it comes as well with this sort of sealant. So it comes like this, but when you peel it off, it peels off some of the, the wrapping, as you can see. So I'm not sure what the idea, but I assume they want to make sure you get it secure, or they should know it hasn't been tampered with. So yeah. Right, so let's have a look at what's in it. Okay, this is one sleeve, and that's it. So first of all, we'll have a look. They give you a quite nice manual, but I mean, you can see it tells you everything you need to know. The air inserts that we're going to talk about on top as well. You get quite a few air inserts to add on. I'm happy to say that the one that's in the tank is perfect mouth to long. And here it tells you, you see all the parts. The tank, assembled. And then it shows you various instructions. Yeah, quite a nice manual. But we're going to go through it in any case fully. Now, in here you get O-rings, a coil that we're going to use, and the Allen key that you really need, because I have 2 X drivers. One is a 1.5 and the other is a 1.3, and none of them fit. So I was quite happy to add this Allen key. And there's another Allen key in here for sort of I'll show you in a minute. It blocks off the airflow, the external airflow. So we'll keep that aside as well. And here you've got a mouth to long coil that we're going to use. Looks like a 2.5 millimeter inner diameter. Yeah, so we're going to use this coil. And that's it, a bunch of O-rings. So let's put aside and let's have a look at the tank. So I already lubricated it properly, because when you attach a PSU tank to metal, stainless steel, always lubricate the threading. So let's start from the top. This is the mouthpiece that I also lubricated here. Very nice mouth to long, and it's the same one as on the Taifun GTR. So it's a very nice, it's metal, I think. Yeah. Now this is a bottom feed, so is no, you don't open this to put in your liquid. It's bottom feed. This holds 4.3 ml, so it is a quite substantial tank. Although the size is not massive, it's 41.5 millimeters without the mouthpiece by 23. And if you can see the base, made in Germany, and the serial number. And now if you notice, it's hardly protruding, the 510. I know people do use it on a mech, but it is very, very shallow indeed. And over here you can see Taifun GT1 on the base. It looks like a Taifun. Yep, very much so. What it is. So now over here you've got fixed airflow. Next to it you could open this one with this black Allen key. Now I must strongly advise you against playing around with this unless you leave it in or out, because if you lose this, I put it in, see, when it came, it was in the bag with these Allen keys and the coil. It was loose, and if you drop this, it's going to be very difficult for you to find where it is on the floor, especially in a carpet. Forget it. So I already did it. I already put it in. So it seals off the hole, simple as that. And make sure it's secure, it shouldn't fall out, and just leave it there if you want it. There's not much difference in the airflow with or without. It's just less noisy. It's more silent when this is in. Yeah, so this is a fixed airflow, and is no adjustable airflow, so it goes through the pin, an insert on the deck. So let's take this apart. Now always do it gently. I already lubricated the threading here to avoid any problem with this PSU tank. We'll have a look at the deck in a minute. Now this comes along, if you hold the top and you start twisting, it'll come off completely. Now this is a beauty ring that just comes off loose. Yep. So you've got threading on the top and at the bottom. Always put VG. You can see I put VG here. Okay, so let's put this together and let's have a look at the chimney. The chimney is a very high grade. I mean, you can see I washed this already, so you might see droplets of water. Yeah, I can see here droplets of water in there. So, but when you take it out of the box, it's immaculate, and you can see how it's domed. Very nice work, and it's a very narrow bore chimney. So let me get a tissue. So you're guaranteed good flavor. So this is the chimney, very nicely done. It's one piece, except for the mouthpiece, obviously. So let's put this back. Always this matches the top, so you know not to do it upside down. I'm not sure if you can. In any case, it's going to be too narrow, because if we see this is sort of wider, it's like a two section to it, and this sort of is a stop. So this always obviously matches the top. And always do reverse threading, reverse a bit to get the threading in right, and then secure, and that's it. This might turn loose because it's just a sleeve. Yeah, but don't ever over tighten. So that is the top. Now let's have a look at the deck. So we've seen already this airflow insert. Well, it's not an insert, it's a blind one. It blocks it off. And your air insert is right here in the middle. And this is a 1.2 millimeter. Now to take it out, you need to get a hold of it, and it just plugs out. But it's not so easy to do. Yeah, not so easy to do. So I'm going to do it soon. We'll take it off the base. But it's got like two O-rings, and it sort of plugs in. And this is a 1.2 millimeter, and it's perfect mouth to long, perfect. So the juice flow here, there's no juice flow. These two holes feed your cotton. So this is a very, I'll say old school, you know, it feeds the cotton through here. I don't have the GTR, but what I heard is that the juice flow on the GTR is not so convenient. So they didn't even bother putting the juice flow on the GT1, and yeah, so it might be a good thing. But you can see that the juice wells are fairly large. But there is an interesting way of wicking it, because your wick is right above this air insert, and if you overload the wick, it might leak through the air insert. So we're going to talk about that when we build the deck. Let's go quickly. And now to open the 510, they don't give you any tool. So I had one, but they don't give it to you, so you have to provide one for yourself. I assume they assume most probably is no need to open it, but for the review we'll just have a look. So you got insulated there. Now if we put in some kind of tool and just push up, you'll see the whole positive block is out. And also then you can see how the airflow works. It goes through here and it will hit your pin, your 510 underneath, right underneath your coil. Now if you can see as well, there is like a sort of indent in the base here. So this matches this bit here in the bottom. Let me just give this a quick wipe, because I washed this thoroughly. Yeah. So this is your positive. Now let's see if we can take this one out now, the insert. Stuck in quite strongly, I must say. Here we go. So you can see I don't want to lose it. So you got like an O-ring, and this is the 1.2. Let's put this back, and it just plugs in. So it's fairly secure. Yeah, so this is the insides of it. Now when you put it in, you just have to make sure that you get it aligned with that piece. That's it, that is in. So let's put back the 510. Make sure always the insulator is here. Now, what I'm interested to know is if one could adjust the 510 to fit on a mech. So I assume you can leave it out a bit sticking out to adjust it. You don't have to screw it in all the way. So you could use it on a hybrid mech. It's probably, but I'm not going to use a mech in any case. Okay, so this is done. So now let's build a deck. Right, so we'll use the Allen key they provided to undo these posts. These are beefy posts. But my hex driver doesn't fit. So very good they provided you with one. So let's have a look at the coil. Well, yeah, it's a 2.5 millimeter.
So we'll try and do it. So because these coils have got long legs, so we just fold it around the post, because there's no really a lip here. Keep it central and secure. Actually, it's a very easy deck to work on. One side secure, and now we'll do the other side. So I'm going to use this as a Kentel round wire, most probably. I'm going to use this, and then maybe I'll change to a this is sort of an old school type of mouse to long, so really simple round wire is best. I don't think you should put in a fancier coil here. The maximum I'll go to is a core Clapton. I don't, this is old school, and the flavor from a round wire Kentel will be perfect. So, I mean, the coil is central and right above the airflow. Maybe I'll just move it a bit to the other side, just a little bit. That's it. Now let's cut off the leads. You must cut off the leads fairly close, as close as you can get, really. Yeah, okay. And fold it. And this here, I need to cut a bit more here. That's it, done. Right, so this doesn't really need major dry fire because this is a round wire, but just to give it just one, give it a pulse, and that's it. Let's see what ohms it is. I don't even know what ohms. 1.7. Well, hasn't said anywhere what coil this is, I wonder. It's really a mouse to long 1.8. I would have never dreamt to put in such a high ohm. I wanted to put in a 1 ohm. Actually, looking now on the dimensions, I don't know if you can see this here. It says 56.5. Most probably that is with the mouthpiece, and 50 millimeters. Well, interesting. It doesn't say what coil is in here. Oh, by the way, the Allen key, if you can see it, is a 1.5 millimeter and a 0.9. So the 0.9 is for the airflow on the base, and the 1.5 is for the post. Does it say anything about the coil? No, it doesn't say anything about the coil. Where would it say? Well, that's what it is. I mean, we'll see. We'll put it on a mod. We'll have a look. But this is a really a mouse to long all the way. Nearly a 1.8 ohm. Okay, so let's put in some wick. So this is a very small coil. So what I'm going to do is, you don't want to overstuff this juice well because of the air insert there right below it. Now we'll thin this out considerably, and this is the beauty of Muji pads. They can really tweak tweak with the cotton, so I say, or sort of get it really to what you want, the size. Now this might still be too thick, we'll see. No, it's good. You see, I'm passing it through without actually moving the coil out of place. Now, the way I'll wick this is really to get your scissors right by the base. Let's have a look. I will put it right against the threading here and cut it roughly that size, and we'll see. Yep, this is perfect. So you don't want to overstuff this, but on the other hand you don't want to be too thin either, so you have to get the middle way. And the best way to know is just that the coil shouldn't move out of place when you insert it. And just simply fold the cotton gently and feed it into the juice well without pressing it down too much. Allow it to find its own place and keep it fluffy, and you can see that the cotton is over here, will absorb the liquid. And I'll show you another thing in a minute when you finish with the when I'll finish with the feeding in the cotton. Just make sure it's well spread out. Now I would move the cotton away from the air insert. As you can see, I wonder if you can see it, you can see the air insert right underneath the cotton, the coil. So you don't want the cotton to be over it. So you just move it to either side and make sure it's not anywhere near. So you can see now the clear space between the coil and the air piece on the air pin underneath, and there's no cotton there. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to use is the Black Note Virginia, one of my favorites among other Virginias from Juice Cabin and La Tabacaria. Most probably you'll see the review of that one eventually, but superb. But today we're going to use this one here. It's a 70 VG. I reviewed the Black Note, very good flavor, and I'm very eager to find out, because I haven't put the Virginias on this tank, what flavor I'm getting from this compared to my other high-end mouth-to-lung, German-made, bottom feed, very similar to this. So when you when you put the liquid, don't put too much on the coil. It shouldn't leak down into the airflow insert. And well, this is bottom feed, mustn't forget that. So let's do that. So what you do is, now if you have a chubby nozzle, that might be a problem. So you really need to have a thinner nozzle, and if you haven't got a thinner nozzle and the nozzle that you've got will go everywhere, put them into either a syringe or another bottle with a thinner nozzle, and you can see where the liquid on the sides. Well, we can put in quite a bit more. Don't forget this holds 4.3 ml of liquid. Put a bit more. This is one thing that's not so convenient. You don't know where your level is because you need to turn it around. But the K-Farm, for instance, you see straight away the juice, the tank. You know exactly where the level of the liquid is. Here you need to sort of. It's a bit like, well, the Sputnik is also, you can see. So this you need to. Not to rush it. You see, it's coming up now. We don't want to overfill. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, that's it. So now what we need to do is take off the deck and start. Now when you do this, always do a bit of a reverse threading to make sure that you get it in right. You don't want to lose to misthread this tank, because otherwise you're gonna ruin yeah. So this is, let me take it off 1 second off camera, 1 minute. I need to get it in right. Here we go. It was very difficult for me to do it on the angle underneath the camera. So you just do a bit of a anti-clockwise turn and to get into the threading right. So this tank is ready to vape, and the liquid will go in through these two fixed juice flow holes. Yeah, so you can adjust it. Now, well, let's put it on a mod. I'll put it on the Inniken Coolfire Z80 for now, and you can see this is a bit turning, but it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter at all. And you want to make sure you secure everything. And let's see, 0.75 ohm. So this is a proper mouth to lung. I don't normally go so high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the wattage to 13. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize their coil is such a high ohm coil. So let's give this a vape. The flavor is phenomenal, and the airflow is fairly silent, I must say. But perfect mouth to lung. You don't have to get any other inserts. We'll talk about the inserts on top, but the airflow is smooth and proper mouth to lung. But the flavor is outstanding. Outstanding. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tank now for a few days, see what's what, you know. But what I can tell you straight away, you see how it works without the juice flows. Is very easy to live with this tank. Yeah, just the bottom feed is, yeah, you have to just be careful how you put in your liquid, not overflow. We'll talk about this in detail in a few days, but for you it'll be just 1 second.
Right, so now you've seen that close-up, we can talk about it more in depth. What changed since the close-up? Well, I changed the coil. the coil that they supplied was nearly a 1.8 ohm, too high ohm for me and too low wattage. So what I did is I did my own Kensel round wire, 26 gauge 7 wrap, and at the moment it's a 0.85 ohm coil on 16 watts. This Mouse Too Long RTA does not need a fancy coil. This is old school, as I said before. The whole design, it's old school. The flavor from a round wire is perfect. You do not need any fancier coil. If you vape creamy liquids like desserts, yeah, then a fused or a core Clapton coil, a fused Clapton, would bring out those creamy notes a bit better. But for naturally extracted tobacco, a round wire is perfect. Now, when you saw the close-up, I put in the Black Note, Virginia. When I first vaped it, the flavor was superb. I tasted the sweetness of the Virginia. I tasted the woodiness. It was a superb flavor. Since then, I've changed a few flavors. And at the moment, I've got in here the Black Cavendish that Andre from one of our subscribers has sent me a few liquids from La Tabacaria. Then I said to him, I will review it for the benefit of all. So the next review will be the Black Cavendish, hopefully midweek or next week. We'll see how it goes. The flavor I'm getting from this tank is superb. Superb. But we'll talk about the flavor soon. So let's talk about the various elements that make a Mouse Too Long RTA to be enjoyable and something that you could really enjoy your vape and hassle-free, you know, everything that really makes a good Mouse Too Long RTA. So we'll start with the top, the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is the GTR mouthpiece, very comfortable. It is quite thin, yes, but it's got this, you know, rounded crown type of thing, and that sort of fits your lips perfect, and it's a really nice Mouse Too Long mouthpiece. Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about now the airflow. The airflow. First of all, it is not so quiet. You could hear it quite loud. Yep. It's not as silent as much cheaper Mouse Too Longs like the Bishop. Silent. And the replay is identical to the Bishop and the airflow. You can actually swap the pins between them, by the way. This is silent. This is a bit noisy. Nevertheless, it is a very smooth airflow. The insert that is on the deck is the 1.2 millimeter. You don't need, for me, I don't like it too tight, like a cigarette. It's too tight. I like it a bit, a tad airier than that, but I don't like it airy either. So the 1.2 is perfect, but you can get other inserts. I will show you on the screen at the moment. In a minute, you'll see it. Let me just find it. Here you go. You can get a 0.8, 1 millimeter, 1.5, and 1.8. But full honesty, the 1.2 is perfect, smooth draw. You don't need, it costs I think €7 per insert. You don't really need it unless you like it tighter or area. But I think most vapors would enjoy the 1.2. Now, the airflow, as you've seen, that little screw that tightens this, well, I spoke to a few guys who've got this tank, and they told me that it makes a difference in the throat hit. If you leave it open, it's less of a throat hit. If you close it, it increases the throat hit. I don't feel it. I don't feel the difference. The only thing is, if you take that insert, that little screw out, this becomes noisier. So this keeps it a bit quieter, the airflow. Throat hit is a perfect throat hit. You know that feeling when you feel in the throat, like when you smoke, you get that hit in your throat, the throat hit? Perfect throat hit. Spot on. Not too much, not too little, spot on. Yeah, I did not see no difference at all in the throat hit in regards of that little screw. Let's carry on the airflow. Some vapors will say, oh well, airflow on the deck is a problem because every time you want to change, you need to take out your wick, you need to undo your coil. Yes, but you know, so many tanks these days come with inserts on the deck, and good ones as such. But mouse to long vapors normally find a setting and keep it that way. Direct to long, like it's sometimes a bit area, you know, they play around with the airflow a lot more than mouse to long. Mouse to long, you find your setting and you stick to it. So that shouldn't be a problem, because this 1.2 insert that's in the deck will stay there for good. So the airflow is smooth, but a bit noisy. I wouldn't say it's as smooth as the K-Phone Lite. The K-Phone Lite is smoother. This is with the Aerocon. This is the 2019. The 2021 Plus has got already the Aerocon, so it's the same smoothness. This is smoother. This is a bit more turbulent in the noise. The smoothness of the draw is similar, not as good as the K-Phone, but still very, very smooth flow, airflow, but the noise gives you that impression of turbulence. It is more like the Dwarf. This is a bit more of a crackly coil. In here I've got a fused Clapton, so forget the crackling and, you know, the noise of the coil that I actually do enjoy. The airflow is similar airflow to the GT One. Yeah. Now, the Sputnik is super smooth. I'm comparing it to mouth to long RTAs that's high end. I mean, the Dwarf and the K-Phone are German design as well. This is Swiss. So I will compare this to these tanks. Okay, so the airflow is smooth but noisier. Now, when we come to the build quality, the build quality here is Taifun. The only thing is, this material is, what was it called? I always forget the name. PSU. Now, PSU, when you screw it onto stainless steel, you need to make sure that you put VG on the threading. Now, the threading here on the PSU is precise, very precise. As Taifun, I wouldn't expect any less. The threading on the deck, the threading on the top, everything here is machined perfectly. But if you screw it and you miss the thread, and you force it and you break it, that's it. So it's very recommended to put VG on every single threading you've got on the tank itself and on the deck where the black O-ring is, to avoid future problems, hiccups. You know, this is quite expensive. I know it's the cheapest of Taifun, but it's still €100. So I always put VG. When you saw the close-up, I'm sure you saw the VG already in the tank. So that is a very wise thing to do. But the fact that it is PSU might deter some people. Well, I mean, a lot of high-end, I mean, the Sputnik is also not glass. The K-Phone is also not glass. The only one that is glass is the Dwarf. Now, if this it falls on the floor, a hard floor, it smashes. This wouldn't. So there is advantages in this type of material. Also, this is very tough indeed. So there is advantages in that. Disadvantage is that you need to be careful with the threading when you screw them on and off. You notice in the end of the close-up, I wanted to put back the deck. So I was looking under the angle of the camera, and it was difficult for me to get the threading because you have to do a bit of a reverse thread and then get it in, and then it goes in smooth like butter. So when I got it closer to me and I looked down this way, it was much easier for me to screw it in. So I don't think that should be a major issue, but it might be an issue to some. Yeah, I'm just telling you what my experience with this tank is. Right. Now, the next category, the deck. The deck is one of the easiest deck to work on. The very high quality screws, and they're quite beefy, so they grab the coil well. And also, I don't think I mentioned in the close-up, if you look closely, you'll see it's like a little engraved where the screw meets the deck. So that coil really fits into that groove. And when you twist the coil leg around the screw, it holds tight. And that is such an easy mechanism to put in a coil. Also, the posts are a bit offside. So when you put the coil, they fall in right into place because one leg is a bit offside than the other leg. So when you put in the coil, it falls spot on, centered. Just screw and just tighten the screws. That is it. It's very easy to put in your coil. Wicking. So the wicking is very easy as well. The only thing you have to bear in mind is that you've got that insert right below the coil. So if you pack the juice wells there quite large, full of cotton, and you have a bit of cotton that is sort of leaning towards that insert. So when those cotton absorb the liquid, they might seep into that 1.2 millimeter airflow, and you'll start getting a bit of a gurgle. Now, I did not experience it because I made sure that my wick is sort of arch-shaped and moved away from the insert. But a good friend of mine who's got this tank, he told me that he had this problem. So I advised him to move it away from the airpin, and that helped a lot. So you might experience this if you over-wick, or if your wick is leaning towards the 1.2 millimeter insert. Besides that, it is a very easy deck to work on. Very easy indeed. I would say even someone who never built a mouth-to-long RTA, as a first time, he has a stock coil and he wants to try a mouth-to-long RTA, this is easy enough for him to give it a go. Yep. So the deck is very easy to work on. The airflow is smooth but a bit turbulent. The build quality here is a Taifun. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can tell it by looking at it, by feeling it. It's high grade. I mean, the stainless steel is 1.4301. This is a very high grade stainless steel. You can tell this is a high-end mouth-to-long RTA, no doubt about it. What they mean that it's more of a basic, the juice flow. Okay, now let's talk about the juice flow. Juice flow is got advantage and disadvantage. The disadvantage is that you can get flooding if you don't adjust it accordingly. Or you can get dry cotton if you keep it too closed. So you need to find the sweet spot of the juice flow to every type of liquid. It takes time to figure this out. This tank over here is got what I call internal juice flow. You see, and there's two holes here on either side. Each juice flow has got those two holes. I found this works flawless. The more I vape it, the more the coil gets its liquid. The less I vape it, it reduces the absorbance of the liquid. So it works, I think, by the draw. Every time you draw, it takes the liquid in, hits the cotton, and brings it up to the coil. It works perfect. So juice flow is not needed in this tank at all. Many times juice flow is a problem sometimes it's more of a hindrance than a useful feature. So the lack of juice flow here is not a problem at all. I never had any problem. My coil is always saturated the right amount. Not too much, not too little. That is perfect. Right, now let's talk about the bottom fill. Yeah, bottom fill is bottom fill, doesn't bother me. The Taifun light is bottom fill, the dwarf is bottom fill, the Bishop, which is one of my favorites, mouse along, is bottom fill. The Sputnik is bottom fill, so I'm used to it. The only problem is that with the Bishop and with the Taifun light and the dwarf, you're looking down on the tank. So when you put the liquid, you can see the level coming up towards you. The GT1 is very much like the Sputnik, that you have to squeeze your bottle in between the PSU and the chimney. So it's a very narrow gap. So if you've got a chubby nozzle, if you're not careful, your liquid will go down the mouthpiece. So you have to be careful. Thankfully, Juice Cabin have come up with the new bottles, that the naturally extracted tobacco that I vape a lot of, with thin nozzles. So that is perfect. That is no problem. But you have to be aware that if you got a chubby nozzle, you have to be careful. It shouldn't simply go down your mouthpiece. But when I filled it up, when I did a close-up, you see, I was holding it like this. But when I look at it this way, I can see the level coming up. So I refilled this tank a few times now. So when you hold it close to you and you look down, you can see the level of the juice come up. So it's a lot easier. On the camera, it's harder to fill. So it is either you like it or you don't. It's a bottom fill. A lot of high-end mouth to long are bottom fill. I know the Bishop now has got a top cap with a top fill. Yeah, but I'm used to the bottom fill on this one, and there's no problem at all. Okay, so what is remaining? Oh, by the way, before we see, the Pioneer is got also, well, this is a much lower quality, but this is also a PSU going into stainless steel. But the difference is that the threading here is not as precision cut on the GT1. The quality of the GT1 is way, way better than the Pioneer, but the flavor of the Pioneer is hard to beat. This is one heck of a mouth to look. And I've got in here naturally extracted tobacco from Andre, who sent me a few naturally extracted tobaccos to review. And this is the Kentucky. Eventually the review will be uploaded, but the flavor I'm getting from this La Tabacaria on the Pioneer is outstanding. I will get a similar flavor on the GT1. So now we come to the last category. The finish of this review is the flavor. Now, when we come to the flavor, I'm always a big dilemma. You know, when you come to such higher grade mouth to long RTAs, the difference between them is so low margin that is difficult to detect the difference in flavor. So how should I categorize the flavor on the GT1? Well, I was thinking about it. The flavor here is very good indeed. Superb flavor. But I think, in a way, I've got, for instance, the Sputnik, I think is a bit better. The Sputnik is a hardcore mouth-to-lung RTA. The flavor on this is outstanding. I think it's a bit better than the GT1. But not in a tinier margin. The Taifun Light, I think, is a benchmark. I know it's a benchmark in all-round excellence. From build quality, there's second to none, to flavor, to draw. It's just a solid mouth-to-lung. In compared to the GT1, I think the Taifun Light is just edging ahead. Yeah. But again, in the slightest of margins. The Dwarf is a bit more like the GT1. Superb flavor. Both are superb flavor. But it's a similar delivery of the flavor on the Dwarf and the GT1. But for some reason, when you draw, I can't explain it. The Dwarf has got something with the overall experience you experience when you vape it. It's just edging a bit, I think, as well. You see, that is the problem. When I try to deliver you, this is what I was nervous about when it comes to the flavor. Because it's so difficult to determine which one is better. But there's one thing is for sure, that the Taifun Light and the Sputnik are just edging it, just above. So let's say if the category was between 1 to 10, so there's no such thing as 10, someone told me once, right? So let's keep it 1 to 9.5. So I would say the Taifun Light is 9.5 and the GT1 is 9.3.5. So it's the slightest of margins. No, but you know something surprising, that the Bishop and the Replay, that they are half price, even more than half price, are not far behind. Are not far behind. Yeah, so the flavor is excellent, superb flavor. But I wouldn't say it's the most flavorous mouth-to-lung RTA that I've got. Nope. It will be in the category of my higher flavorous tanks. Yes, absolutely. This is a Taifun at the end of the day. But I wouldn't say that this is the most flavorous tank I've got. No. The flavors are genuine, are true to the juice. It delivers it well, but it lacks that edge that I get from the Taifun and from my Sputnik. And I think also the Dwarf. Yeah, and the Bishop and the Replay are not far behind. That is an amazing achievement for a tank that is half the price. The Pioneer is as sharp, but the overall flavor profile, this is perhaps a bit richer. but I mean, this is superb. Now, the deck, as I said, is a very easy deck to work on. So for someone who wants to upgrade from a stock coil to a mouse to long RTA, this is one easy tank to live with. This is old school, no problem with juice flows. You don't have to worry about external. You just put in your insert, forget about it. You will enjoy this Vaper. The flavor is excellent. The draw is smooth. The build quality is high. All in all, this is a very highly recommended tank. But I know it is the cheapest of the Taifun. Yes. But for that price, you can get a Taifun Lite. 2021 is cheaper. I think it's 60 or 70 euros. I'm not sure the price of the Dwarf. You can search on it. Must probably be more or less the same. Okay, the Sputnik is more expensive. But the Bishop and the Replay, they're not so far behind. Are half the price of the cheapest of Taifun. And is not far behind. Easy to coil, easy to wick. I mean, you can watch my review on the Bishop, on the Replay. They're two superb tanks. This is an RDTA, it's a different style. But the performance of these tanks is amazing. So when I come to review the cheapest of the Taifuns, Taifun, whatever it's called, but it's still 100 euros. It's got competition. Yeah, I am enjoying it very much. I'm enjoying the flavor. I'm enjoying the build quality. I'm enjoying the draw. I vape this now regularly. It's one of my on rotation. But I just wanted to deliver to you my experience with the so-called more basic, old school, what I say old school, mouth to long RTA by Taifun, the GT One. Okay, I think I hope I didn't forget anything. Yeah, so this was my review, and I'm happy I've done it. I was very excited to review it because it's the only Taifun I've got, and I'm quite impressed with it. For the price given, you're getting a very high quality tank, all in all. Yeah, so if you want to upgrade to a high end without paying a fortune for it, highly recommended. Because you can fully enjoy it. The draw, the ease of coiling or wicking, the flavor, the whole concept of this tank is very enjoyable day-to-day mouth-to-long RTA. Okay, so I think this will be it for the review. I hope I'll be able to edit and upload it for the weekend. I do apologize if it took a bit long, but the close-up took me a while because I take my time, and also now all the various components going through, comparing it to other tanks, all takes time. So I hope it was beneficial, and I would love to hear your comments. What do you think about this? How does it compare to the GTR? How does it compare to other Taifuns? How does it compare if you got other high-end tanks? What do you think of it? It'll be very interesting to listen to your views and your comments and your feedback. Yeah, it'd be very nice to hear from you. And okay, so that is it. So now is what? Oof, very late. Okay, so until the next review, I think the next review will be the Black Cavendish by La Tabacaria that I've got in the Pioneer. Absolutely stunning liquid. And well, no, the Black Cavendish, sorry, this is the Kentucky. Sorry, this is the Kentucky. The black Cavendish will be on the Spiker Pro. Yeah, this is the Kentucky in here. Okay, right. So until the next review, take care, enjoy your vape. Bye-bye for now.